I get it. I see why people come here.
Hey everybody, it's Dick here. We are once again reminiscing on Shakedowns and my Scottish winter motorcycle tour. If you'll recall from the last episode, we made it to Dornie just after dark and spent a lovely evening as the only two guests foolish enough to be holidaying in November at the Dornie Hotel. We were determined to get onto Skye that day, Skye being our revised northern terminus, as we would not make it back in time to get Shakedown to his plane if we tried to make it all the way to John O'Groats as planned. The days being shorter than expected and the roads being icier than was safe, we had to modify our plans almost hourly on the trip. As fate would have it, the temperature rose a degree or two, changing our usual frost and snow-covered mornings to freezing rain and sleet. It was another pre-dawn departure, but we were pleasantly surprised as the hotel served us breakfast an hour before their customary start time to accommodate our early start. You remember that Shakedown's microphone had failed in the extreme cold and unusually humid winter conditions heading north. Our various attempts at repairing or replacing our comms had failed. Our solution was to change my working mic to Shakedown's helmet and to resort to hand signals to communicate. This left me to the mercy of his streams of consciousness. It reminded me of my UK motorcycle training, where my instructor would bark into my ear and I was powerless to respond. We were so excited to get going we didn't notice that the town was set on some ancient Celtic labyrinth, and the road we thought was taking us out of town was actually spiraling us deeper into it. It took a cheeky curb hop to get us on the right track again. Even when our comms are working normally, I have a tendency to stop every so often to confirm that we're going the right way or to make sure that Shakedown is on the right page. With the comms not working properly, our stops were more frequent, much to Shakedown's chagrin. The length of road from Dornie to Skye Bridge is unremarkable, or at least it was on the day we rode it. It was also wet and cold and dark. The GoPro cameras do a good job at overexposing the footage, but if you notice the headlights on the road and reflecting off of the ground, it gives you an indication of just how dark it was when we departed. The ride to the bridge reminded me of how uncomfortable it can be to ride in the rain. Even on a summer day, riding in the rain can cause a dangerous chill which can affect your attention and reactions on a bike. In the past, I've endured good-natured mocking for my insistence to stop and don rain gear during a ride. Never from Shakedown, of course, who is always prepared with the correct gear and deploying it just when needed. Since we had spent what little time we had from his announcement that he was coming to the UK for a motorcycle tour to Scotland in November in researching and accumulating proper winter riding gear, we were well prepared for the spate of rain we encountered on the way to the bridge. I may have said it in previous videos, but I think it is worth saying again. The winter riding gear did have an unusual impact on our riding. As a motorcyclist, you train yourself to compile and process all of the sensory input your body receives to safely and expertly maneuver your machine. You watch for road conditions and hazards, you listen to your machine for faults or that it's running smoothly, you listen for other vehicles or sounds that can connect you to your surroundings. You feel the bike, the road, and the air around you to predict and react to the conditions so you can operate your bike at your best. Remove one of those senses and you limit your ability to safely ride your motorcycle. As I've said, get too cold and you're in trouble. Even a slight chill can cause slower reaction times, fatigue, and deficits in attention. However, remove the cold altogether on a winter motorcycle tour and you remove the greatest warning about the danger of the road and other environmental conditions. I found that being insulated so thoroughly by my heated gear, from fingertip to toes, that I became complacent to the real extreme cold through which we were riding. I would accelerate and dive into turns ignoring the slick road surface. The only indication of how cold it was outside of my gear was the swirling frost and foggy breath inside my helmet. More than once I felt the tail of my bike slide out from under me, reminding me to be vigilant. I even found myself turning down my heated gear so as to let a little bit of the cold creep in to keep me attentive to the danger. It should be noted that the spike in temperature was not owed to our good fortune, but rather to our proximity to the sea. The scent of sea air intoxicated us as we found ourselves riding above Loch Alsh towards the inner sound. There was a sense of activity as we approached the bridge, Traffic increased, and the landscape was more developed, which I was not expecting. Large ships down in the loch purported industry. Following my buddy Costas's advice of stopping for fuel whenever it was available, we filled up at the petrol station just shy of the bridge, but not before getting lost in the back roads and parking lots and alleys of the town. It was a good thing, too, as I had forgotten in our excitement to get out and going that morning that I was running on fumes when we coasted into Dornie the night before. The gas station attendant made a snide quip at our foolishness for being on bikes at that time of year. I just nodded and smiled through my foggy visor, not disagreeing with her. Shakedown and I shared a giddiness pulling out of that petrol station. Neither of us had any idea what to expect once we reached Skye. I was fairly certain we would not find any accommodation for the night, and other than the name of a town halfway up the island, we had no idea where we were going once we got there. We were just happy to be going. On our last big motorcycle tour to Newfoundland, circumstances cut our trip short. We had a day on the island instead of the 3 we had planned. Combined with the uncertainty of the weather, lack of accommodations, and the ever-shortening hours of daylight, I felt a sense of foreboding as we approached the bridge. Luckily, my broken calm assisted me in keeping that to myself, and optimism ruled the next few miles. Ever since I was a kid, I loved crossing bridges. My Irish grandmother lived over the George Washington Bridge, and I could swear I could smell her sausages frying once we were out on the bridge. We would open all the windows in the car and breathe deep the rushing wind and the sizzling, smoky aromas. Once I started riding motorcycles, crossing bridges became even more electrifying. Crossing bridges in New England or great suspension bridges between states, it didn't matter, it was always a thrill. You can always tell when you're approaching a bridge of import. The road seemed purpose-built, with very little opportunity to abandon your journey across it. There's a reverence to approaching a formidable bridge, almost like walking down the nave of a majestic cathedral. The bridge to Skye did not disappoint. The storm-brushed sky blanketed the swirling gray waters below, enveloping me in the melancholy painting that Turner never painted. Swaths of black mountains were the only things tethering me to the earth. White lines and guardrails blipped by us like stars rushing past our light-speed starships. In an instant the earth rushed towards us, and then we were on Skye. Through the orange storm gates that closed the bridge in dangerous conditions, we were confounded by the very first roundabout. I wondered if Shakedown was still awash in the headiness of the crossing as he left me behind. I was forced to pull over by the impatient tailgating local riding up my ass. Another instant of my lamenting the failure of our comms, knowing that both Shakedown and I had extra mics sitting in drawers at home. We had brought redundancies of almost everything else on this trip. Why not the freaking mics? It was an inauspicious arrival onto Skye. As I said, I had no idea what to expect, but I was expecting more than I was seeing. The lightly developed towns near the bridge were not worth the journey, and as we passed closed for the season B&Bs, I wondered who traveled to stay in them. It didn't seem all that special. And then the road turned gently to the left, and we were humbly presented with a skyline of mountains rivaling any I had seen in my many travels. Not since leaving the mountains in the southern Highlands had we been gifted with such a ribbon of road, and the warm sea air made it rideable at pleasant speeds. Even the rain seemed to lighten, or at least soften, as we skirted the estuary waters lapping the umber shores. Other than the odd car coming in the opposite direction, we had the road to ourselves, and there was a somber melancholy mixing with the heady excitement of riding that beautiful, long, gently sweeping road. Our heads were on a swivel, trying to absorb every sight and sound that was passing us by at 40 miles an hour. "Sheep!" I yelled into my broken calm. Why were sheep on Skye more special than anywhere else? They weren't really, and yet they were. It was the 4th day of our trip. We had reached Skye, which under normal circumstances should have taken us 2 days. We had seen spectacular sights, experienced extreme conditions, and fought hard for every mile that we had covered. I couldn't shake, however, the feeling that our trip was finally starting. Or maybe it was just the fact that I needed to pee.
Ah, the majesty of the Isle of Skye. And Dick whistles, follows through with his birthright. Not listening to his grandpa's advice, and literally pissing into the wind. It's getting all over his boots. See, Granddad, you were right.
No good?
Huh?
No good?
That's no good.
He went,
I was looking down, not up.
oh. You see where the road's going.
I was saying, I thought it was that. I thought it was that, but that's a waterfall.
The P-stop had another added benefit. We managed to get Shakedown's comm synced with his camera, which had been failing intermittently over the past 48 hours. So, kind viewers, you can experience but a small taste of what entertained me through the barren wastes of the north.
Christ, that thing was on 2 wheels. I was about to ask why there's pedestrian crossing here. Holy shit, that's awesome. I just can't get over your jet ski rooster tail coming off the back of that bike, man. It gets me every time. It's like slapstick. Holy shit, look at that. What? Look at the water coming all the way down from the top. It's like romancing the stone when they hit the mudslide. It's like a 20-minute montage of them sliding down the mountain uncontrollably, somehow missing every tree possible in a jungle. Wow. Yeah, that's Mr. Whistles getting the side shot and not giving me the heads up. Coming out of light speed. Wow. Yeah, no joke. I need to see another relief map. I need to know the geology here. A little bit of slope failure there, that's nice. The water everywhere is just trying to get off this elevation. From the sides of the road cuts to the channels being carved through it. It's wild. I gotta imagine being in a tour bus. You probably get nice and toasty. And then it probably just seems kind of ordinary as you're just ensconced. Oh yes! My favorite cows! Cattle! I don't know, some might be bulls, I don't know. But it's just to sit in a... Oh, look at them! Look at the wee one! Shaggy little... baby cow! Yeah. What are those called? Highland cows? Yes. I finally remember. Highland cows. Did you see the Porsche? The GT2 or 3 maybe? Just having a fun day out here. Yeah, that was a police vehicle. Just two farmers or hikers, not sure. Oh yeah, surveyors. They had the equivalent of like a Trimble backpack on one of them. The stock with the bulb on top. Holy God. There's snow up there, man. Yep. If there's snow on a peak, you're gonna point it out.
If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.